Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ball Watching. We have a loaded agenda for you all today. Had to do a little bit of work on this one. This is the first time we've had to do that in a while, Justin. You know, not having a game to look back on, or at least a city game to look back on or look forward to. We were in a little bit of a dry period, a little bit of a stretch heading into the latter part of August before we play again. But we committed. We're here. We've got more updates to provide you all across Leagues Cup, some women's national team stuff going on, as well as some city topics, which I think we had some questions on a couple weeks ago that we did not get to. So with all that being said, welcome to the show. It's going to be a fun one today. Justin, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. This is actually a little bit more exciting. Like you said, it was a little bit more legwork because it's not just us watching the game, taking notes, or doing a little preview. And especially now when we do our previews, we've played most of the teams. So it's kind of rolling some stuff and giving updates on injuries and things like that. It's a little bit more exciting. And I kind of like digging into it a little bit. So let's just hop right in. I think we're going to start with the Leagues Cup update. So obviously with us dropping out, it's a little bit harder for some people to watch, but it's still going to be an exciting tournament. And one of the things that surprised me, Jake, was on Monday night, Columbus handled Club America 4-1 to win our group. Club America had never conceded 4 goals against an MLS side. And this was huge for Columbus when you look at now where they're at in the actual bracket on the elimination, because now Club America has to play Chicago. They've been a little bit better recently, honestly, but unfortunately the winner of that game has to play Nashville or Cincy. And so that's why Columbus just getting out of that little corner down there was huge. And they did it without Lucas Zellerine.
Yeah, big news on that front with Zellerine. Of course, he was plucked away after we played them and just ripped us apart. But he's heading to the Saudi Pro League, man. Oh, my God. It's the story of the summer of the season. It's sad. It honestly is a little bit sad to see all that happening. I'm sure they will build a somewhat formidable league over there by recruiting all these stars and top talent. But it is an era going on right now. So he's 31. Played in 97 regular season matches with the crew since he joined them in late 2019 from Tigres and Liga MX. So obviously an all-star type player for them. He was the MLS Cup MVP when they claimed that in 2020. So a big bummer, a big hole to fill for the crew, but I've already heard they're busy. Apparently Diego Rossi is being linked to them, which would be a big time move for them. But they have money. I mean, I think they got a couple mil from what I read in terms of transfer fee. Not as much as you expect for someone, but I guess he is 31. So all that to say, Columbus doing the business to Club America without their MVP, basically. But I'm sure they'll backfill that very soon.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm kind of wondering if that's like the first domino, Jake. I feel like, has there been any other notable MLS guys going over to Saudi yet?
Big ones outside of that, I've definitely seen some links, but that to me came out of nowhere. It was just done.
I think it was shocking to him too. Did you see him, like he was saying goodbye to the fans, like crying right before the game? I mean, I know it's emotional. He's not just all sad. It's just like having like overwhelming effect of that. But still, it was surprising to me. But so looking into the group stage though, and kind of how that shook out, 20 of the 29 MLS teams advanced. That's 69%. Nice. 12 of 18 of the Liga MX teams advanced, 66%, even better. So we had a little bit of an edge there. Some of the biggest shocks, you put a couple in here. Us being bounced, was a big shock to me. Guadalajara is third in Liga MX last year. They got bounced. Seattle, fifth in the Western Conference right now, out. And Atlanta, seventh in the Eastern Conference, also out.
Yeah, I did a little digging there. I don't think that tells you that MLS is better technically, but I wanted to put those in there because I'm sure the Mexican fans are probably not liking that stat. But I mean, keep in mind, all these matches are away from home for them. I would love to see the stat line if we just played this entire tournament in Mexico. I definitely want to say the MLS is getting better and closing that gap, but I think that environment would have caused for some L's for some MLS teams for sure. Us at the Estadio Azteca would have been insane.
I mean, there's no chance that we would have traveled well, but I would have went for sure.
Oh, but yeah.
Like, there's no chance you would see MLS fans showing out like Club America did for us. We would be a speck of a section.
Yeah, absolutely. Not anything huge. Honestly, Guadalajara is the biggest one to me because they were third last year across the entire year for Liga MX. So a bummer there. And Sporting is the one that's knocking them out. The S words, man, it's crazy. But this next round, so the round of 32 is officially the knockout round. So group play is over, and that'll commence on Wednesday, August 2nd, and run through Friday, August 4th. So it's 3 days just chocked full of matches. It's going to be electric.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, 4 games on Wednesday, 6 on Thursday, 6 on Friday. So, and some of the notable ones that you guys want to pay attention to, obviously, Miami versus Orlando. Miami's at home, and it's their third game for Messi after he has scored 3 goals and an assist in his first 2 games. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. Atlas versus the New England Revolution. Atlas has yet to give up a goal so far in this group play, but they're not exactly blowing teams out, as they've won both of their games versus Toronto and NYFC 1-0, and that will be Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Quick note on that one too, Justin. You and I were just looking at this. Bruce Arena will not be at the helm for that Atlas matchup, which is quite possibly one of the biggest games they've played, at least cross country in a long time. He is under review, under investigation for some insensitive, inappropriate remarks. No word as to what those might have been and what context they would have been in, but they will not have him at the helm for them. Another big matchup coming up is the Union DC United, a little intra MLS rivalry, which looks awesome. Philly has been on fire, scoring 8 goals in their 2 games thus far. That'll be on Thursday evening at 7. Cincy Nashville, you already hit it, Justin. That is an Eastern Conference battle. These 2 teams are already duking it out in the MLS. I'm definitely going to try to watch this game. I think it's going to be awesome.
So that one really threw me off, Jake, and I'm trying to pull this up real quick while we're talking. So Brandon Vasquez has 4 goals in 2 games for Cincy. But the fact that I thought this would be more of a battle, Vegas does not think so. I think they have Cincy at -130 and Nashville at +310.
I mean, Cincy has, I feel like, kind of just been inevitable this season. They've been electric outside of our match against them. They've just been able to handle whatever's been thrown their way, and they've been so high attacking, so high octane. It's been so much fun to watch them, and you'd love to see the Pat Noonan St. Louis connection there. So a little bit of St. Louis bias there, but that is surprising. But I do think it's just a kudos to Cincy for just being amazing. But otherwise, let's round this out. Another big matchup we saw is Toluca playing the S words. Toluca won both games, defeating Nashville and Colorado in their group, putting up 8 goals against a 6.52 XG. So definitely outperforming. That is Friday night at 8. And finally, I put this one there late, Justin. This one's at Thursday night at 7:30, but I wanted to write it down because Charlotte's playing Cruz Azul, who we remember Cruz Azul was Messi's first game, and he scored that free kick in the stoppage time. It was amazing. They had a scheduling conflict. They were supposed to have their game at home for Charlotte, and they are, I think, having Beyonce perform at their venue, and they did not have these schedules beforehand, and Beyonce was already in the books, and you can't push Queen Bee. Come on. Nope. So they announced they're not hosting the game. The game will be hosted in Dallas at Toyota Stadium, where FC Dallas plays out of. So the fans were not happy, but that is a little interesting nuance to throw in there.
Give me Cruz Azul in that one then. If it's being closer to Mexico, they're +155, Charlotte +150. The last thing I will say, line just came out too, Jake. Club America is +120 against Chicago Fire. I might hammer that. Chicago Fire, I just watched them last night in the PK shootout, and I mean, it went like 10 rounds, but they just didn't look that great. And then we'll touch on as it gets further down the line. But round of 16s, August 6th through 8th, quarterfinals, 11 through 12, semifinals on the 15th, and the final on August 19th. That is a Saturday. So that'll be fun to watch. If you're looking to bet on it, real quick, updated lines: Miami is 6-1 to win, Cincy 11-1, Union and LAFC are 12-1, and Club America at 14-1, coming in 5th right there. So keep your eye on it. It's going to be a fun little tournament.
Let's talk about the women, Justin. We'll definitely be back with the Leagues Cup for sure, especially as that round of 32 closes here. But so the women, let's do the summary. The summary is they're through. They have gotten out of the group, but by the skin of their teeth, it was not pretty. If you watched last night and stayed up, I did not. I was able to catch some highlights and watch some of the footage after the fact, but brutal night for the women in the red, white, and blue. A couple things I took away from the game that I want to share here is the coach finally, Vlatko Andonovski, finally made some changes to starting 11. In his in-game management has also been questioned. Was not worked out last night. They did not look much different whatsoever. They looked defunct and devoid of a lot of creativity that they had or they've been known for in the past. Portugal came out to play. Hats off to them. Probably deserved to go through, given how hard they played and how closely they played a team that is number 1 ranked in the world. But they kind of played our own game against us. They possessed the ball. They had the field tilt. They had everything going for them. Couldn't put away any chances, though, unfortunately. Alex Morgan, what's going on with her? She cannot find the boots, man. She cannot find the goal despite having chances.
I know and I will say, I have it touched on a little bit later here. So she was the favorite to win the Golden Boot at +400. She is now at 55-1 to win it. So I don't really know what's going on there.
Rough. And the team lost Rose Lavelle now to yellow card accumulation for the next match. And she's oftentimes, I think, one of the best midfielders they have. Alyssa Naher, the goalie, did not look very commanding in her box, had a slip up in the late game that also could have contributed to their downfall. If they'd have lost last night, they would have been eliminated. How shocking would that have been for this team to go in looking to what did we say, three-peat the World Cup, and they're going to bounce in the first round, which could have happened. Needless to say, Carly Lloyd doing the punditry afterwards just lit the team up. No punches were pulled, and I think she did it in a respectful way, not to call anyone out specifically, but to really hearken to the body language and the way they celebrated post game when they really probably, go ahead, respect the fans, go sign autographs, go do that. You're such a role model for all these young kids watching and be that face of the United States. But at the same time, we shouldn't be smiling and giddy and dancing. And that was abysmal. This group stage has been pretty horrible if you consider what the expectations were rolling into this. So now they're going to have an uphill battle facing, going into this next round, likely facing Sweden. I know Justin going to break down what it's looking like, but not a good night for the States, but they did get the business done. So there is that.
I think that's what a lot of the girls came out and said afterwards. And they were just like, hey, we came here, we did what we needed to do. We're through. It wasn't great, but we're through. So I understand that. But I agree with Carly. She was saying, like, you got to respect the fans, go say hi to your family, but taking selfies with each other, dancing around on the field after just tying and barely sneaking through. After what was it, the 92nd minute, the ball off the post?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was scary.
They didn't have a shot on goal technically, though if it hits post, it doesn't count. But yeah, otherwise we kind of destroyed them. We had 17 shots. We had 4 big chances, missed all 4. They had 6 shots, 1 big chance, 1 at the post, missed that. So nothing a whole lot really to touch on in highlights or lowlights there. I think you just need to move forward, as we talked about. So final group standings, Netherlands absolutely dunced Vietnam 7-0. So thank you for coming, Vietnam. That is sad, but that was fun for them. And we got second. We snuck in there with second with 5 points with a goal differential of +3. So like we said, we're through. Fine. Next match, Sunday, August 6th at 3 a.m. Central Time. That better chance of staying up, I guess, because it's a Saturday night. It's not finalized yet, but we're playing Sweden. So you have their number 3 in the world and their bogey team for us and beat us in the Olympics as well. They have 6 points through 2 games, which obviously just won their 2 games with a +6 goal differential, 7 goals for, 1 against. They play against Argentina at 2 a.m. on Wednesday, August 2nd, who's bottom in the group and currently 0-1-1 with a goal differential of -1. So, it should be an easy win for them. But even if they somehow lost, Italy is in second in the group, and they take on South Africa, who only has 3 points and a -4 goal differential. But versus their game in South Africa, they would have to make up a goal differential of 10 to become the winner of the group, to where we play Italy instead of Sweden. So it's pretty much a lock that it's Sweden.
And Italy's not a walk in the park either. Clearly any team's not really a walk in the park for us this year with how things are going. I would love for them to turn it around. But, needless to say, like I said, this complicated our path. You always want to finish first when you can in the group because you're going to get easier draws from there on out. Not the case for us anymore, finishing second. So we will likely play Sweden, who, like you said, Justin, definitely the Joker to our Batman in some cases. And if you look at the quarterfinals, even after that, let's say we survive Sweden, we have to play the winner of Japan-Norway. Japan, we just faced in the 2015 World Cup final. We did definitely trounce them in that, but still, this is the world number 11, so that's scary going into that. And they have to beat Norway, obviously, to get there. But Japan is likely who we will face in the quarterfinals. Semifinals, getting even further, if we won, those next 2 games in advance there, we likely play the winner of Spain, which is number 6 in the world, and Netherlands, who we just tied in our own group. So it's not getting easy for the girls. And you keep in mind the final has all the other giants on the other side. So England, Germany, Brazil, France, all in the respective top 5, top 8, basically. It's an uphill battle for the ladies. And I think one they were not anticipating complicating on their own.
And especially some of these teams are looking dominant, Jake. England and Japan both have 6 points, winning all 3 of their games in the group with a +7 and +11 goal differential, respectively. Colombia, they're also looking good after they took down Germany 2-1 when they were +975 odds. And one of the best goals I've seen. You see her, I forgot her name, the 18-year-old for Colombia, just did a little toe tap around two German defenders and just put it in the upper 90. It was great to watch there. And then they defeated South Korea 2-0. And Netherlands is still looking very strong after beating Vietnam 7-0. So definitely no walk in the park. If you're looking for bets here, there's no lines out for our game yet since it's not a lock-in for Sweden. So that'll come after Sweden plays tomorrow morning. And then looking at futures, we used to be 2 + 250. We're like, it seems a little low. Yeah, it was, because now you got England at +400, Spain at +400, us at +450, Germany +850, Japan at 900. So We talked about Golden Boot. Could have had Sophia Smith at 6-1. Nope. Now she's 12-1. Could have had Alex Morgan at 4-1. Nope. Now 55-1. So tough.
Not great looks. Not great looks. I still, and maybe this is just what they needed to wake up, realize they're still having to fight for this three-peat. This isn't something that's just gonna be given to them. So, hopefully we look back on this and it's a positive thing. But before we get into the next topic, Justin, so we've wrapped up Women's World Cup, we wrapped up Leagues Cup. Let's talk some City. Let's talk some City depth chart and magic number. Let's start in the depth chart. This is going back to a question that we got I think a couple weeks ago. But before we do that, want to make a quick plug for anyone tuning in here on YouTube. Go down there and hit that like button. They had a great last video performance. I think a lot of it was the Club America fans, man. These people show out in the comments, but they show out the like button as well. So no excuses here, City fans or anyone listening. Would appreciate the support in any way you can provide. And obviously, while you're there, hit that subscribe button as well. But Justin, let's pull up the first set. So how I did this depth chart. So we were asked to kind of assess what we think is the depth for the team today. And I've gone ahead and just assumed all health. I'm not going to get like overly creative with this. So we're going to go over to looking at our formation in a 4-2-2 to start. I've got two examples, this one and a 4-2-3-1. Oh, actually, let's start with 4-2-3-1. That's the first one that comes up here. So if we're talking 4-2-3-1, so you're thinking your back four, two midfielders central, one more advanced, one more defensive, and then you have your three, which is your left wing, your attacking mid, and your right wing, and then your striker. For me, for those looking at the visual, obviously you can see what we think here, but I've got Hebert and Nelson. We obviously just learned about Markinek just joining the team, and a transfer that was announced shortly, actually a couple minutes ago for us, who I think will challenge on that left back side. But right now, Hebert, Nelson, Pedro not seen on here. I have no idea where that man is. He is languishing somewhere, I imagine on his way out of the club, given this current situation and our new signing there. Nilsson and Bell are my left center backs of choice on the depth chart. You could argue Hebert there as well. That's one thing you'll notice here is if you're looking at this visually, there are some guys that have flexibility, and hats off to them. That's great. You can be played in different positions, but I'm not putting him here for the purposes of what we're doing right now. So Hebert on the left back, and then we have left center backs of Joachim Nilsson, who we just saw for City 2, lit it up, scored a goal, played a 45, and then Parker and Yarrow on my right center backs. In terms of depth. And obviously I don't have Bartlett on here. We don't have room for him, but Bartlett would probably be supporting either one of those two. But I still think John Bell is ahead in that depth chart for me. And I'll finish this out, Justin, and give you some thoughts. But Akil Watts, Jake Nerwinski are my right backs right now on the depth chart. You could think, Owen O'Malley somewhere off here. I'm talking guys that are going to play.
No, I think I like this right now. I think it's tough not to have a spot for Bartlett, but I do think that Bell's just been playing pretty well right now. And I think he's kind of been, Bartlett took that role that Bell could have had early in the season. I know Bell had some injuries, so now that Bell's in, it's going to be a battle with those guys, but I definitely think it's going to be Nilsson and Parker.
So let's go to central midfield. So this is your number 8, kind of going box to box. Leuven, obviously, that is literally the definition of him. I think Indy Vasilev is the most, natural depth in that area. I know Indy can play defensive mid. I know he can also play attacking mid. I know he can also play on the wings, but that's where I'm putting him for now in terms of depth in a perfect world. Defensive mid, obviously, Blum is our number 1 defensive mid. I would say our only other cover in that position of somewhat natural ability is Miggy. I don't think they're like for like at all. I think the quality drops off pretty significantly when you see Blum come off or Blum not start. But I do think that's our defensive kind of number 6 mid depth. And finally, I'm going to go to attacking mid and just round that out. Aziel Jackson, to me, feels like the most equipped attacking mid or number 10 on the field. I have Ostrak beneath him, but I also think that Carnell would probably go for Vasilev or even Leuven in that position if needing to as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's no one that I'd really change it to, and I know you'll probably touch on this, but you have Nico off the depth chart right now. I would actually put Nico in that spot, specifically because when we get to the top here, and you have Klaus up top with a dinner in underneath, I think those are the two guys you see there, but give me Nico underneath of Klaus, and then give me Jackson coming on as a sub to fill in that void as well. Moving out to the left, you have Stroud, then Thorson. Couldn't agree more. There's no one else really there that we put there. I mean, you put Isak Jensen, but he's got to be third there. And then Alm and Pompeo on the right. Alm is one that we're still waiting to step up a little bit more. I think we've seen glimpses of it, but Stelio coming off the bench. We've talked about it multiple times. I love to see it. But yeah, I would put Nico probably in for AZ right now and put AZ as the second.
Okay. And so that's what you'll get a chance to do here in the 4-4-2. So Klaus and Denoran are the two number 9s up top that we have here. So that's the full lineup. You know, we obviously mentioned Bartlett, Gioacchini, Jensen, Glover, guys that have made the bench, haven't played much. You're not going to see on here. And then we obviously didn't talk about Berkey and Lund because that is just as easy as it comes. Finally, the second way of viewing this, because I wanted to make sure that we have an alternative, is looking at it from a 4-4-2 perspective. So let me reshare visually for anyone that's looking at us here, and you should, because this is some good content.
And Jake, while you're resharing, I'm gonna make some couple quick plugs real quick. Even though we're taking a break from soccer, doesn't mean you have to take a break from the pitch. Get there; it's still extremely hot out in St. Louis. Get a frozen Irish coffee, eat some food, go enjoy some of the League's Cup games that are going on there, and the women's national team during the World Cup. So that's great. Soul Juice, 20% off, souljuice.com. And then also Series 6, you can get us at 20% or 15% off there on their website at series6company.com.
Amen, man. Well done there. All right, back to depth once again, but looking at it a little bit differently. Now we're thinking of 4-4-2, so playing kind of a diamond of the midfield. I kept, obviously, goalkeeper and my back four the exact same. So I'm not going to recover those. Hebert Nelson, left back. Nilsson Bell, left center back. Parker Yarrow, right center back. And Watts Nerwinski, right back. Okay, into midfield, which gets a little bit different. This actually it remains pretty close, but basically defensive central midfield in this position, the number 6 is still Blum and Perez. And then we go to our left mid, so the number 11 on the field. And I have here Leuven and Stroud. I think it would play out very differently here in terms of how they actually play. But I expect the left mid to be kind of giving some width, but also supporting centrally. That was a hard one for me. It almost felt like a position where I feel like I don't know where to put Leuven here, because he almost could play attacking midfield as well in this type of situation, but I still value him more in the 8. I feel like we'd find a way to have him play a lot more centrally in this case. But that felt like a natural place to put him because I had nowhere else to put him. And on the right, I put Indy and Celio. So those two on the right mid. Obviously, Celio can probably run the flanks. He probably could contribute as well more defensively if asked to. And Indy, we've seen play that position exactly before. So those are some of the slight differences here.
Yeah, I think this is, Jake, the first time that we've had the problem of having too many healthy guys. And I'm serious. Like, we have not had a game this year, correct me if I'm wrong, with Leuven, Blum, and Klaus all on the field. If it has, it's been 1 or 2, but putting all 3 of them in there, it's going to be a great problem to have.
Right.
The only thing I would switch out is maybe I would start Stroud on the left, and then I put Leuven. I'm sorry, AZ, you've been playing well, but I put Leuven where AZ is. And then so you have that diamond of Blum in front of the D with Stroud on the left, Indy on the right with Leuven there, and then you got Nico and Klaus up top.
That's fair. So you got, okay, got it. So in the number 8 position in this case, so the attacking central midfielder, we have Jackson and Ostrak. Could have Leuven put there instead because we've seen that done before, even in real life. And this gets into your comments on Gioacchini. So in this case, 2 strikers. One I see more as the primary. One I see more as the secondary. They just have left and right here. But secondary striker, Gioacchini is perfect for that. I think he is a perfect second striker, so he moves to number 1 on the depth chart in that position. And Thoresen, we've heard in his profile and seen him be able to play as a striker, second striker, and left winger. So I put him in number 2 in that position. And then finally, number 9, the starting striker for us, the main guy up top would be Klaus and Adenoran for me on the depth chart.
Yeah, otherwise I love it. I just think we cannot forget how good Nico and Klaus were together with that connection. And I just think we need to see it more often, especially getting them some minutes together before playoffs hit.
I agree. So that's our depth review right now. Obviously changing apparently daily now with this acquisition we just made on the left back side. But I know the transfer window is closing shortly. So when we've reached our 30-man cap on the number of players available. So unless we make any outgoing loans or transfers away, it's probably going to be a quiet end to the transfer window for us. But this is a picture of what it looks like right now. And Justin, you've got to bring us into this little magic number segment. We've promised this a couple times, but I know you've been working behind the scenes.
We have. And before we get into it real quick, I want to give everybody just a quick 30 minutes. Wow. 30 seconds on Anthony Marketon. So we just acquired him from Colorado, left back, 23 years old, for $75K in GAM for 2023. And then our first round super draft pick with $75K of GAM in 2024. So in my opinion, I think we have enough left backs. I know it has been a little bit of a rotating spot when you talk about Johnny and Hebert and what we're looking for back there. I think this is one of those moves where Colorado's looking for money and looking to progress to the future, knowing that they're absolute butt this year and they're just looking at the bottom of the table. So they're probably just trying to make any move. So I think it's probably one of those things that we'll look back on and be like, dang, Lutz kind of snacked this guy up for 150K in a pick. So one of those things that you probably won't see him a ton. You'll probably see him more on City 2, to be honest. But yeah, Jake, let's get into it. So I have teased this a little bit, the whole magic number situation, which probably teased it a little more because I wanted to make sure that I was actually getting us to a good spot with this, because it is a little bit different. So magic number is technically something that you hear a lot more in baseball, where it's used to determine how close a team is to making the playoff. It's much easier with baseball, considering it's just win or loss, and you get a point essentially for winning there, as opposed to us getting 3 points for a win, 1 for a tie, and things of that nature. But for soccer, it represents a combination of points we would need to reach a given goal. So you kind of define that goal, and that's kind of what I have here. So if you can see it on the screen, and I'll post a picture for people that are not on the visual sense of the YouTube side, but I basically took the rankings of the MLS, took our current points, our games played, and then I calculated the games left, which is just games played, or 34 minus games played. I multiplied the games left by 3 to get your max possible points. So that's the thing when you talk about magic number, you have to assume every team wins out. And yes, we know that's not physically possible because they have to play each other. But for just the sense of making sure that we know for a fact we would get in, you have to assume everybody wins out. So then we'd have to calculate for us to get into the 5th playoff spot, which would basically mean that we get out of the play-in games and out of the wild card, and we're just automatically in the playoffs. When we calculate that, you go to the max. You don't leave it in the order of what they are for the season. So if we ranked us from 1, if you ranked everybody from what they are currently right now, it would say our magic number is 25. However, you need to look at it for max possible points from largest to smallest, just because there are some teams that have more games, like Vancouver, you can see jumps up right here. They're in the 7th spot, but they have the 4th most max possible points available still, because they still have 12 games to go. So when you add that to the points they already have, they climb up the ladder pretty quickly. So our magic number, when we're just looking at if everybody won out, we would need 26 points to get the 5th spot out of our last 11 games, which is not realistic and is not going to be needed. We look at the 9th spot, that's 23 points. And so the way that we kind of fix this for soccer is a great idea that Jake had, was go by points per match. So if we're thinking about it, if we have everybody's points per match, which is taking the total points that they have now divided by the games they've been played, we have that for points per match. Now let's multiply that by the games that they have left in the regular season and filter that from largest to smallest. So that's the max points they would have if they continue their current pace throughout the rest of the season. Our magic number to reach the 5th spot is just 8 points out of these last 11 games. So that's taking the 5th ranked spot for the current pace points. It would be Vancouver at a max of 48 points would get them into the 5th spot. We would only need 8 points to get us in there. And then looking at it, we need the 9th spot to get us into the playoff round and the play-in. We would need 5 points. And basically looking at that, if you look at the formula here, it's taking the 5th place team on the max amount of points and adding 1, noting that we'd have to beat them by at least a point to be able to get in. So doing that with the 9th spot as well. So when we look at that, then it would definitely just move us even closer to get to the top. And that's just kind of how you calculate it. So I can definitely share this. I am not a wizard by any means, but I will definitely take some feedback from people if you got any other ideas on how to keep this calculated. But just to start, and we still got 11 games, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But I do think the best way to look at it is the max amount of points you can get in a season if you continue with the pace that you're at.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a really important part there. We always hear 45 points is kind of the number that gets tossed around as kind of being the threshold you have to cross to get into the playoffs, or what usually would get into the playoffs. And that's what our 9th spot would be. So if we only got 4 more points or so, that would get us into the final spot in the playoffs according to your model. So we'll definitely put that out there if folks are interested, and plan to circle back and update this as we go to make sure that you all are kept in the loop. I don't think we're anything worried at this point, but would love to kind of see where we should be landing to make sure that we get the best spot we can in the playoffs. So excellent job putting that together, Justin, and voicing that over. So more to come on that, and more to come from us as we provide more updates on the couple of tournaments going on right now with Leagues Cup and Women's World Cup, as well as City news, because it's been hot and heavy recently. So you can look to us to continue to provide that for you all. And until we catch you all again, which probably sometime next week, hope you all are staying safe, staying cool. It's been a little bit better around here in St. Louis. Thank God we needed a breather from that horrendous heat. But until we catch you all again, everyone take care. Have a great rest of your week.
All for City.